Okay, so I'm going to create a video going over what we went over today in class on Tuesday, September 28th. So get Illustrator launched, you might have to go into Applications and find it in here. It's right here in Applications folder. You'll have to open it up using this little arrow, double click on that to get that to open up. And you might want to do a control click, Options, Keep in Dock, make sure that's checked, just to keep it in the dock of your computer. And then let's do a create new. So we'll click on this. Let's make the width and the height 3 inches. Make sure you go to the print section here. Make it inches, change this to 3. The width, change the height to 3. CMYK, 300 ppi, high resolution on the raster effects, and everything else should be just fine. No need to go into more settings. So let's push create. And here's our artboard. That's what it's called in Illustrator, is an artboard. In Photoshop, it's called a canvas. So we have our workspace should be set to Essentials Classic. So make sure you go to Window, Workspace, Essentials Classic. You may have to do Reset Essentials Classic, but and then I'm going to expand my toolbar too because I like it to look like that. Yeah, so that is basically it. You can see over here there's some more, layers, graphic styles, appearance, gradient, stroke, symbols, brushes, swatches, color, that kind of thing. We want to make sure that the properties panel is open, and it is. I just need to shrink mine down a little bit here so it fits better in the window. Okay, that's looking better. So let's go online. We'll start by going online, and I already have this pulled up, but if we actually look for bird silhouette in Google and go to images, and then we want to go to tools, open that up, this little tools button, and then just bring this down to large. We'll find most of the large images will come to the top of the search now that we've done that. And you can pick whatever bird you like. Maybe I'll go with this guy this time. And you can hover over this image to the right, typically on a Mac, and you can see the pixel width here, 1400 by 900, or somewhere around there. So let's do a control click or a right click on a PC and open image in a new tab. So we have it open in a new tab, and then we can control click on that and save image as. And let's go to our documents. Let's go into Graphic Design 231, wherever I put that at. And let's go into Illustrator Assignment. So if you don't have a folder called Illustrator Assignment, just make a new folder, call it Illustrator Assignment, or Illustrator Demo will work well too. And let's just save this as, save it in here. And this is a PNG, you can see that right here, so that's fine. You'll usually get a PNG or JPEG when you pull it off the web. So, and then we'll go into Illustrator and back to our artboard, and we could do a file, place. And this will bring we're going to bring that bird into our artboard. So we just need to go to that Illustrator assignment folder, go to the PNG that we just pulled of the bird, and place that into our document. So we have that in. It's kind of large, obviously, but we can use the free transform tool over here. It looks like a box with a little triangle shape. So let's push shift on our keyboard and hold that down the whole time while dragging the corner of our image down to make it fit on our artboard with a little bit of room around it. So that's good. And let's do an image trace on this. So come up here and let's just make this a black and white logo. So you have to be in Essentials Classic though for this to work. So you need to be in Essentials Classic. You need to have this selected with the black arrow tool and go to the image trace, go to this little arrow, and let's do black and white logo. And then this is a two-part process, so push expand. And if we can zoom in here, you will see there's anchor points now. And if we use the white arrow tool, you can really see them. These anchor points, and it's line-based now. And this is called vector. And that's what Illustrator is good at. It creates vector out of pixelated images. And now with vector, one of the advantages is that we can make this as big as we want. And it's never going to pixelate or get blurry or get pixelated. It's always going to be nice and crisp. So that's one of the advantages of Illustrator, and that's why logos are made in Illustrator, because they are line-based and anchor-based instead of pixel-based. So if we take our black arrow tool and kind of bring our bird over here, we can see it actually created a white background, which we don't really want. So click on the white arrow for that and click on the white background and push delete. And I have another little space down here that I need to delete. You might have to push delete a couple times to completely get rid of that. So we can bring this over, and if you hold Option down on your keyboard, you can duplicate this. Now you have to hold Option down the whole time and let up from the mouse and then let up from Option, and you'll have two. And you can also do a Command C or Command V, or I believe an object, or maybe edit, copy, edit, paste will work as well. And then select one of your bird images and go to Object, let's see, Transform, Reflect. And we can reflect this vertically or horizontally, but we're going to reflect it vertically. Push OK, and then bring this over. And maybe we'll just have the two tails cross. And if we push Shift, we can get both of them at the same time. And we can actually use the alignment panel over here, and we can align these to the top edge, which will make them line up kind of perfectly in a way. And that's looking pretty good. So if we're in the Properties panel, we can see the Pathfinder here. Let's go ahead and click on Unite, which looks like two white boxes over top of each other. So we'll click on that, and that actually creates a solid shape from our two images, and they're no longer just overlapping images. It's just one big shape now, and that's actually a really nice clean image. And that's what we want when we make logos. We want them to be as clean as possible as far as the shapes go, so that when we go to change colors, it's really easy. So we're going to definitely be designing in black first and then adding color later. So let's maybe move this up so we can have a little room underneath, and go to the Type tool, and we're going to use the Type tool. So it automatically fills in when you drag out your text box with Latin, but we can highlight that text and type in Two Birds Cafe. Oops, cafe. Okay, and then we can highlight that text, go over here to Paragraph under the Properties panel, and let's center line this. And let's make sure that this is center aligned on the canvas tubes. So let's move this. It's a little bit more space on that side, so I'll just use my keyboard. That's pretty well centered, I think. And centered with the image as well. We can always do a shift, or we can actually click and drag over both to get both selected, and then use this alignment here or here to align the text with the image as well. And then we can change, highlight this. We can use the under character in the properties. We can change the text to one that we like. Maybe I like that. And I'm going to make it bigger. Okay, maybe that's what I'm wanting. And then that's kind of how you would use the text tool. And let's see, you can create outlines. You need to create outlines out of all of your text in your logo, but I would suggest doing that maybe in a later stage of your design process. But we're going to do it right now just because I'm trying to show you how to do it. But the thing about this is that you might want to actually do an Option click on this and drag it out just to make an extra, and leave it in the gray area, just in case you need to edit this text at a later date. Because once we create outlines, you can't edit the text anymore. So that's why we kind of decided to drag out a copy for later if we need it. And let's do Control, click on this, and let's see. Sorry, I'm on the wrong tool. Go to the black arrow tool, Control click on it, and then that didn't work. It's being goofy here, but we'll get it. Okay, so I was on the black arrow tool. For some reason I had to move it up. I think maybe I wasn't able to see what I was doing, but if you have this issue, just try to move it up a little bit. Go to the black arrow tool, make sure the box is selected, and then click, control click or right click on a PC and do create outlines. And that, if we zoom in, we can see those anchor points again, especially if we get on the white arrow tool and begin clicking around. We can see all the shapes that were created, and it's no longer actually text that we can edit. It's just shapes, and that's called outlining text. So let's bring that down here. Every logo should have all of the text outlined so that none of the fonts end up dropping out of the logo, because that will happen often if you don't outline your fonts. So you have to do that. So we can, let's actually just go ahead and save out the file. So file, save as. Let's bring it into the Illustrator assignment. Let's do demo AI file. Save that. Push OK. Actually, cancel. Do a file, save as demo AI, and then BW. So we want to label these either black and white or CMYK depending on which logo you're on. And obviously this is the black and white logo, so we want to label our file appropriately so that we know which logo it is, if it's the black and white one or the color one, without having to open it up. So we'll save that AI file, make sure this is on Illustrator, it should be. Save, and then just push OK, and then do a file export, export as, to get a JPEG. Change the format to a JPEG. Make sure you click this use artboards, because if you don't, it'll export out this text as well into your document, and it'll look kind of goofy. So you can leave the name for the file the same, make sure it's in your right folder, put it export, make sure this is on CMYK and this is on high resolution, and export that out, push OK. And then we have a JPEG and an AI file of that. If we want to add color, you can click on here, double click here for the fill color, or you can do it here as well, or here. You might have to change this to CMYK. More than likely you will. So you'll have to go to the Properties panel under Fill, go to this, click on the black, go to the hamburger menu and push CMYK, and then we can change the color accordingly. And if we want to do a gradient, we can actually do a gradient. We can click on here. Once again, it went back to grayscale for some reason, so we need to go back to this let's see. Let's see here. So let's change the colors in the gradient. Double click here. Let's go back to CMYK here, and then we can kind of pick a color that we want to do here. You're going to have to change them back to CMYK after you double click on these. And we're changing the white on the gradient now, and before we changed this yellow dot, changed the black to yellow. So let's go here. Maybe I want a dark blue. That's looking good. Maybe I want this to be, I think if I control click on this, or no? Oh, look at that. I just made that like that too. Cool. I did a control click. Anyway, I think you can, let's see if I can take it back here. So if you click on this while you're on here, you can make that a gradient as well. That's kind of cool. I didn't know that. Okay. And if we want to add this to our swatches, we can do we can open up our swatches panel, expand that, and we can actually drag our swatch over, and now their gradient is in the swatch, which is kind of handy. They do have some preloaded gradients in here, but we can go back to our gradient there. Maybe I want to put this on the preloaded one. Cool. Okay, and you can change the direction of your gradient. There's a lot of different, you can do a radial, freeform, and there's a lot of different things you can do. You can change the angle on this to make it come at an angle. There's all sorts of things you can experiment here, the opacity, those kinds of things. So something to experiment with on your own time. And then you can actually save out your file. So file, save as, and then we want to do an AI file with CMYK on the file name. Save that, okay, and then file export, export at, oops, not that one. File export, export as, and a JPEG file and then use artboards and then export that out with the CMYK on the end.